The nurses in the large white mansion were already whispering. Madam Ezinne had not spoken for 2 days. Her breathing is weak. Her hands are cold. Even the expensive machines around her bed seemed to have accepted what was coming. Outside the mansion gate, her relatives had already begun to argue in low voices. Her house in Lagos alone is worth billions, one nephew whispered greedily. Don't forget the estates in Abuja, another replied. But inside the quiet room, the old woman on the hospital bed slowly closed her tired eyes. Then suddenly, a voice floated through the evening air. A small voice, soft, sweet, broken. A girl was singing outside the gate. This song was old, a song about loneliness, and something strange happened. Madam Ezinne's fingers moved. The nurse gasped. Her heartbeat grew stronger. Slowly, the old woman opened her eyes. Who is singing? She whispered. Nobody in that house knew that the voice belonged to a homeless girl who slept under a broken kiosk by the roadside. And nobody knew that this poor girl would soon change the destiny of everyone in that mansion. Madam Ezinne was one of the richest women in the city. People called her the Iron Woman of Ekurebio Estate. She built hotels, estates, and companies. Her tall mansion stood like a palace among other houses. But despite her wealth, she had no husband, no child. Instead, she dedicated her entire life to raising her younger brother's children. She paid their school fees abroad. She built houses for them. She gave them cars. She gave them everything they asked for. She solved every problem in the family. People praise her generosity, but generosity does not always produce gratitude. Her brother's children grew up greedy and entitled. They called her auntie with fake smiles, but behind her back, they only discussed her money. The most dangerous among them were three people. Chike, the eldest nephew. He is a smooth talker who loved expensive suits and fast cars. Adaeze, a manipulative niece who believed she deserved Ezinne's wealth because she was family. Obinna, the youngest but most cunning. He constantly calculated how much each property was worth. Whenever they visited the mansion, they pretended to care. Auntie, how is your health? But immediately they left the room, they would whisper, how long do you think she had to live before she died? Her name was Amara. Nobody knew her surname. She was about 12 years old, thin, dark-skinned, with bright eyes that held both pain and hope. Her clothes were always torn. Her slippers were mismatched, but she had something rare, a voice. A voice so beautiful that even birds sometimes stopped listening. Amara had lost both parents during a fire accident in a nearby town. With nowhere to go, she wandered into the rich estate She slept behind a broken kiosk near the gate, and every evening she sang, not for money, not for attention. She sang because it was the only thing that comforted her lonely heart. Ekurobio Estate was one of the most expensive estates in the city. Tall gates, luxury cars, security guards at every corner. But in the middle of all that wealth stood Madam Ezinne's mansion, a large cream-colored building surrounded by flowers and palm trees. Inside were marble floors, shining chandeliers and expensive artwork. Yet the mansion felt empty, very empty, because the woman who owned everything inside it had no one who truly loved her. Before sickness came, Madam Ezinne was unstoppable. She woke up every day at 5 a.m. She inspected her companies, she attended meetings, she signed contracts worth billions. But slowly, age caught up with her. Then sickness arrived. One morning, her legs refused to move. Doctors ran many tests. The final diagnosis broke her heart. Madam, your nerves are damaged. You may never walk again. From that day, she was placed in a wheelchair. The once powerful businesswoman became a quiet old woman, staring out in the window. Her relatives visited less. Phone calls became shorter. Concern turned into impatience. But every month, they still arrived like clockwork, not to check on her, but to collect their monthly allowance. One evening, as Ezinne sat alone near the window, she heard a voice. A girl was singing outside the gate. The song was simple, but it carried deep sorrow. Lonely heart still beat, even when the world forgets them. Ezinne closed her eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks. For the first time in months, she felt understood. "Who is that girl?" she asked her maid. The maid shrugged. "Just a sweet child who sings around the estate." For the next evening, the girl came again, and the next, and the next. Every evening, her voice floated through the mansion like healing medicine. One day, Ezinne gave an instruction. "Bring that girl to me." The security guard searched and found Amara sitting near the gate. When the girl entered the mansion, she froze. She had never seen such luxury. Ezinne studied her carefully. "Why do you sing every evening?" she asked. Amara looked down. "Because singing makes the sadness in my chest lighter." Ezinne's voice softened. "Where is your family?" The girl hesitated. "I don't have one anymore." Silence filled the room. Then Ezinne said something that shocked everyone. "From today, you will stay here." The servants gasped. The guards exchanged glances, but the order was final. The homeless girl had just entered the mansion. Amara slowly became part of the household. She sang for Madam Ezinne every evening. Her laughter filled the empty rooms. For the first time in years, the old woman smiled often. They ate together, talked together, shared stories together. Ezinne taught her how to read and write. She bought her clothes, shoes, books, but outside the mansion, The relatives were furious. Chike slammed his fist on the table. "That girl is dangerous," Adaeze hissed. "She will manipulate aunty and steal everything." Obinna whispered darkly. "We must act before it's too late." Months passed. Ezinne's health slowly declined. One evening, she called her lawyer. A private meeting which lasted 2 hours. The next day, her greedy relatives suddenly began visiting again, but this time they acted extremely nice. "Aunty, you look beautiful today." "Aunty, we love you." Amara watched them quietly. Madam Ezinne knows all these loves are just fake. She didn't trust their smiles. One night, she overheard them whispering, "That old woman will die soon," Chike said. "But if she gives anything to that street girl, we will challenge it in court." Adaeze replied. Amara's heart pounded. She realized something. These people were not waiting for Ezinne to get better. They were waiting for her to die. A few months later, Madam Ezinne passed away peacefully in her sleep. Her greedy relatives arrived the next morning, dressed in black clothes, but their eyes shone with excitement. The lawyer called everyone to the living room. He opened the will slowly. My client, Madam Ezinne Okafor, left clear instructions. The relatives leaned forward eagerly. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. "To my nephews and nieces," he smiled, "you will each receive ₦1." The room exploded. "What? This is madness. We are his only family. Why will she be giving us ₦1? Who will inherit the other properties?" The lawyer raised his hand. "The rest of her wealth, including the mansions, companies, estates, and accounts." He paused. "We go to Amara, the girl who brought joy back to my life." Silence filled the room. Shock froze their faces. The homeless girl stood trembling. Tears streamed down her cheeks. The greedy relatives tried to fight the will, but everything had been carefully prepared. Witnesses, legal documents, video recordings. Madam Ezinne had anticipated their greed and action. Amara inherited everything, but she did something no one expected. She built a home for homeless children. She funded schools, hospitals, shelters, and every evening she still sang the same song that once saved a lonely woman's life. The people in the estates later say, "Blood relative may share your name, but kindness reveals your true family." And another wisdom spread through the land. The heart that gives love will never truly die, because even after her death, Madam Ezinne's legacy lived on, in the voice of the homeless girl who once sang outside her gate. Please love, like, subscribe, and share and comment in my video. Thank you.